All right, you guys really seem to like these videos, so we got another edition of Mormon myths. One of the most famous Mormon pioneer stories ever told is the miracle of the Gulls. The story goes like this. In 1848, Mormon pioneers were on the verge of starvation after massive swarms of what we now call Mormon crickets began destroying their crops in the Salt Lake Valley. The Saints tried everything to stop them, beating them with brooms, flooding fields, anything they can think of, until they finally turned to praying desperately for help. And then, right when all hope was lost, huge flocks of seagulls appeared from the Great Salt Lake and devoured the crickets, saving the pioneers from famine. It's become one of the defining miracle stories in LDS history. There's even a monument to it on Temple Square. This is actually true, but the versions we usually tell today are heavily exaggerated, making those versions myths. Here's what actually happened. Yes, the crickets were real, and yes, the seagulls really did come. We do have historical accounts to back those events up. Now, what becomes exaggerated is that the seagulls did not completely save the harvest. The pioneers were actually dealing with three major problems at the same time: the crickets, a frost, and a drought. And even after the seagulls arrived, the crickets stayed around for 2 more months. The harvest that year was still poor. Many pioneer journals kept complaining about crop damage long after the seagulls showed up. And interestingly, a lot of first-hand journals from 1848 barely even mentioned the seagulls. Even leaders like Parley P. Pratt didn't emphasize them much at that time. The dramatic version we usually hear today actually developed years later. The story kept being retold and retold, and as it was retold, it kept growing and growing and growing. Details slowly got added: that the seagulls came immediately after prayer, that they ate all the crickets, and that the miracle was unprecedented. But historically, none of those claims really hold up. But the truth is, the real story is still pretty incredible. A struggling group of settlers entered an unforgiving desert environment with almost no experience farming that region. They faced frost, drought, insects, and food shortages, and they persisted and survived anyway. The seagulls did help reduce some of those threats, and many pioneers sincerely saw the hand of God in that relief. But the miracle wasn't that all their problems instantly disappeared. The miracle was their perseverance. The miracle was that exhausted people kept planting, kept irrigating, kept adapting, and slowly turned a desert into a thriving community. Sometimes we make stories more dramatic because we think exaggeration strengthens faith. But the truth is usually more powerful. The pioneers didn't survive because nature magically removed every obstacle. They survived because their faith in God and the restored gospel of Jesus Christ carried them through obstacles that weren't removed. And I think that's a lesson that all of us can take away. If you want to hear more of these stories, click all those good buttons. And if you got a story that you've heard that you want me to verify, let us know in the comments below.